This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon and welcome to this club training session on kiosk setup and overview. I'm Charlie Capasso with the USGA. I'm working on the golfer products, so that includes the kiosk, the new GYN mobile app, and the new GYN.com. Before we begin, I just want to make sure, can everyone see the screen and hear me? Okay, thank you very much. And just as we've noticed in some of these sessions, if you could just make sure that you're muted so there's no background noise. If you have a question, you can enter it into the chat feature. Otherwise, you can, if it's an extended question and we need to have a discussion, you can unmute yourself and ask that question. But just if you're not speaking, just please make sure that you're on mute so there's no background noise. All right, we'll begin. So the agenda for today is go over the kiosk. First, we're going to update on kiosk features. So we're going to look at some of the features that exist now in the current kiosk that will not be available at launch, and also some new features available in the new kiosk. We'll then provide a demo of kiosk setup. This will be done within the admin portal. We'll then do a kiosk overview and demo showing all the features and functionalities of the new kiosk. Then we'll have launch preparation, so kind of what you can do prior to launch and at launch to set up your club kiosk. And then we'll wrap up with questions. So first, updates on kiosk features. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, when we're talking about the kiosk, we're talking about the score posting kiosk that's available at your courses and clubs, usually in the locker room or a pro shop or things like that. So some of the existing features for the kiosk that won't be available at launch is offline mode. The new kiosk is essentially just going to be a website. So if there's no internet connection, you're not going to be able to do anything within the kiosk. There's no club-specific ads, so your association will control the 728 by 90 ad images that appear on the bottom of the kiosk. For launch, there's no kind of grouping, so whatever the association uploads there will be pushed down to all the clubs within their association's kiosk. There's no more association screensaver, which used to appear in the existing kiosk. There's no ability to customize kiosk posting preferences or select themes. This is a big one, a new one. The ability to view private score data. So with the new GYN products, there's kind of an increased effort to have more data security and privacy around some information. And since the new kiosk, as you'll see, you're not required to log in with anything more than just the last name. So all the information for peer review purposes and for golfer information in terms of scores posted is in this public view, which means that you won't be able to see the day played or the course played when looking at a scores table for the golfers. That information will be available to golfers if they go to GYN.com or the GYN mobile app and they share a club affiliation with golfers they're looking up. But within the kiosk will be only in this public score data view, which will not include day played or course played. And the last thing too, again, with the data security and privacy, in order to look up a golfer's handicap index, you first need to access the kiosk, and we'll go through how to access the kiosk, but you'll just need, it's kind of a different flow from what exists now. So first you'll need to identify yourself before you do any feature, which is post a score or look up a handicap index. So some of the new features that are available within the new kiosk is all the information is delivered real time instead of served locally. So since it's a website and talking about the offline mode, everything's going to be delivered in real time. So no more holding of scores and kind of using cached information. Hole-by-hole score posting is going to be available to all kiosk users with the World Handicap system and the change to maximum hole score being net double bogey. It's important for golfers to be able to post hole-by-hole scores because you'll see we'll do the math for the golfers as they enter a raw score in. We'll determine what the adjusted gross score is based on the golfer's course handicap, the par, and the stroke index for the hole. There's dynamic search when searching for courses. And there's unique URLs for each kiosk setting. So we'll show this briefly. shortly in the kiosk setup, but each kiosk will have its own specific URLs. So instead of today where you have to go to a URL and then enter credentials, you'll just create a URL, create a kiosk within the admin portal. It will generate and display a URL. You then use that URL, put it in the browser, and that's your URL for your kiosk that you just set up. So are there any questions before we show you how to set up a kiosk within the admin portal?
Nothing yet.
Okay. So we'll go. Okay, so here you see I'm in the admin portal within Test Club, which is part of our GIN Test Association. So if I go to Account, I see a tab here for Home Courses and Kiosk Setup. This is where I will be defining my home courses and setting up any kiosk. So if I click on this button here, the home courses that display are Torrey Pines North and Torrey Pines South. So these home courses will be migrated over from GHP. So whatever you have as defined home courses within GHP, those courses will come over as your home courses, and same with the default Ts, they'll display here. You have the ability to edit your home courses. You can remove a home course, you can add a home course, you can change the default T. If you don't wish there to be a default T, you have the option of selecting no T. So once you have home courses defined, you have the ability to set up a kiosk. So down here we have kiosk setup. You'll see I already had created one down here, but I will add a new kiosk for this demo. So if I click the Add Kiosk button, first thing you see here is club display name, and it just pulled the club name as Test Club. This is the name, and we'll show you when we go to the kiosk, that will appear at the top of the kiosk page on the Golfer Access screen. So the purposes of this demo, I'll just call this Test Club Demo. You could put whatever you'd like here. If you had a specific kiosk for the women's club in the women's locker room, you can say, Test Club Women's, Women's Club. And then same thing, if you had one in the men's locker room, you could have Test Club Men's Club. But whatever you would want here, you can control the club display name on the kiosk. Next is nickname. This is not a required field. This is more so to help, as an admin, you identify which kiosk you're editing or deleting or setting up. So this is, if you had 3 kiosks at your club, one in the men's locker room, one in the women's locker room, one in the pro shop, you can just nickname this one Pro Shop so you know which one you're editing or deleting. Clubs. So this will be the clubs in which the kiosk is set up for. This will allow the user to access the kiosk by entering either their last name or local number. You can set up a kiosk for multiple clubs, but only if you're a club admin for the multiple clubs. Otherwise, you'll need to contact your association, and they'll be able to set that up for you. So example is if there's a men's club and a women's club at a course, and you want to set up a kiosk for both those clubs, if you're an admin for both, you'll be able to set it up for the men's club and women's club by selecting the 2 of them. If you're only admin for one of them, you'll need to contact your association, who will be able to do that for you. The last thing you can select is default course. So these are based on the home courses. So we'll just select Torrey Pines North. And then you see an on-screen keyboard. So this is turned off. We've showed this to associations. Associations have been testing this, and a lot of them do not supply touchscreen monitors. So we're defaulting to the on-screen keyboard being off because in some of the testing, it blocks some of the input text boxes and some other issues, but you do have the ability to turn it on, and that will have the on-screen keyboard appear. But for the demo, we'll just leave it off. So once I put in all my kiosk settings, I can hit Save Kiosk. So you'll see down here, it generated this URL here. So this URL I could just take and put in my browser. Because we're still in sort of a testing phase, I just need to put this in a different URL string, but I take this part, go to my browser, put it in here, enter. You'll see I'm brought to the kiosk. So this is the golfer access screen of the kiosk. So this is what the golfer will see when they go to post a score, lookup, or handicap, or do anything else with the kiosk. So up in the top left, you see this USGA GIN logo here. So this will actually be your association logo. So this will be, Florida State Golf Association logo, the Gap Golf Association logo, and the text here, GIN Test Association, will be the text of the association. So Florida State Golf Association, New Jersey State Golf Association, that will be up there. This 728 by 90 ad image down here, this Play 9 Post 9 image, will be an image that's uploaded by your association that will appear within the kiosk. And then this USGA Golf Handicap Information Network will appear in the top right. On the golfer access screen, we have the text, the club display text, which we edited when we were setting up the kiosk. So we made a test club demo, so that appears here. So this could just be your club name, or if you wanted to do something like, Happy Holidays, you could put that message up there. As a member of the club, you have the ability to access the kiosk by entering your last name. So I'll enter my last name. I can also access by entering my local number, as well as my GIN number. Now, if you're a guest of a club, so if you have a guest who's visiting your course and wants to post a score on the kiosk, they have the ability to post that score if they click on guest score posting down here. But their only ability to access the kiosk is by entering their GIN number. So I'll access the kiosk by entering my last name, and then we'll show some of the features inside. Okay, once I've accessed the kiosk, you see my name displays up top here. I'm showing my handicap index as well as my low handicap index. I have the ability to post a total score, post a hole-by-hole score, view my handicap information, and perform a golfer lookup. We'll start with post total score. When I click on post total score, the round setup information pre-populates. So the default course I set up for this kiosk was Torrey Pines North. So you see that's the default course. If I wanted to change this course to another home course, so Torrey Pines South is my other home course, I see it down here without having to search for it. If I wanted to change it to a course I want a different course, so I returned back to my home club. I played at Pebble Beach. Must have been a nice day. I want to post a score there. I have the ability to search for Pebble Beach, select it, and then post a score there. You'll see number of holes defaults to 18. I have the ability to select 9 holes. Score type. So if you would have noticed on the last, before I changed course, the score type was defaulted to home, and that's because Torrey Pines was a home course for my club, but Pebble Beach is not. So when I searched for a course and selected that course, the score type then defaults to away. I have the ability to change it to a home score or a competition score, but we're defaulting to away. If I went back to Torrey Pines North, these are the default male tees that we determined within the admin portal for the home course. I have the ability to change this. When viewing tees and selecting tees, I'm shown the course rating, the slope rating, and the par. Date played defaults to the current date, but I have the ability to change this as well. You're entering an adjusted gross score, which is a new term since it replaces ESC score. So we're providing an information icon to the golfer of what adjusted gross score is. The golfer has the ability to post a total score by entering just a total score, and that's why we have this red asterisk here to let them know that's the only thing they need to enter. But if they wanted to, they could also post a front 9, back 9 score.
Charlie, a question came in.
Yes.
What happens if you have no default tee defined?
So if there's no default tee defined, so for example, if you don't have to define a default tee, the score. If you don't define a default tee for your home course, or if you select an away course to post a score, you see the tees just default to select tees. So it'll require the user to select tees before posting. Okay. Once I post a score, I'm taken to a screen where I see my recent scores and revision scores. This list will include score legend at the bottom, so a golfer knows what score type, so H home, A away, C competition, N combined 9-hole rounds, P penalty, E exceptional. There's a couple new, not new, or updated terms and score types, so we're including that on the bottom. Within the table, we include score type, date. Again, we said month, year will be the only thing displaying. The score, course rating, slope, a PCC column. That's another new term with the World Handicap System. So we have an information icon here letting the golfer know what PCC is, as well as differential. You can quickly exit the kiosk after posting by just clicking on this red button here. Or if you wanted to, you can go back home. Home will take you back to that golfer home screen. But for just this purpose, we'll exit the kiosk. We'll access the kiosk again with our local number and go to post hole-by-hole score. So here the round setup information is the same in terms of default home course is appearing there in the default tees. And then here, since I'm posting hole-by-hole, I just go to enter my hole-by-hole score. So here I'm taken to a scorecard where I see yards, par, and stroke index. This information is pulled from CRS. As I enter my score, adjusted score is calculated based on the net double bogey rule for maximum hole score. So I finish entering my front nine scores. That back nine button became highlighted in the top right. And then when I finish entering my back nine scores, you see a review round button became highlighted in the top right. Taken to a screen where I see the round setup information. I have the ability to change a couple things. I could change score type if I realize, oh, I was actually playing from the blue or the green tees. It's going to warn me that changing my tees may update my adjusted gross score because of the net double bogey maximum hole score. I'll just confirm that. And then I can post a score. And when I post the score, I'm taken to that same screen that's showing me the scores table of recent scores and revision scores.
So there's a couple questions that came in. Will hole-by-hole score posting become a requirement in the future?
So that'll be, that'll be more coming from our governance team and handicapping team. Hole-by-hole is the recommended score posting for World Handicap System, but we're providing the golfers with the option to post a total score and hole-by-hole score. So we're leaving it up to them for now.
And additionally, can golfer lookup default to local number or GIN number instead of last name?
Yeah, so we've added that to kind of our roadmap of, so this is the kiosk that's going to be at launch. We're looking to maybe add some additional kiosk setup options, such as I don't have local number at my club or within my association. I want to hide that, or I want local number to be the default option. So maybe we can kind of add some additional features within the kiosk setup to allow for more customization like that. But at launch, we'll have those three options, and we'll default to last name.
And then the question came in around if a golfer makes a mistake in their hole-by-hole scoring, how do they correct it?
Yeah, so I'll go back to hole-by-hole scoring. So you have the ability to, so if I realize, oh no, I got a 6 on the 6th hole, I have the ability to go back and change that. I can also clear all the scores. If they found out that they made an error after they posted the score, then as a club admin, you'll have the ability to go in and edit their score like you would edit a total score that was entered incorrectly. But they do have the ability before posting to go back. And actually, if we went all the way through the process and you said, I'm looking at, 58, that's a low score, but I'm looking at my scorecard, I actually got a 57. So I can go back to score entry, see which hole I need to update, and then go to review round and post the score. So I have the ability to go back, same thing here. When I got to the back nine, I had the ability to go back to the front nine and then go all the way back to round setup.
But once the score is posted, the golfer does not have.
Yeah, once the score is posted, like today, the golfer doesn't have the ability to go in and edit a posted score. So as a club admin, you'll have the ability to do so within the admin portal.
Okay. What are the benefits to posting hole-by-hole scores?
So the benefits to posting hole-by-hole scores would be we're doing the calculation for you with, I mean, this is kind of more of a WHS thing, but with the new rule of maximum hole score being net double bogey, which is a little bit more complicated in terms of the golfer knowing what holes their maximum hole score is, since if you're a 26 course handicap, you're going to get your maximum hole score on stroke index holes. I shouldn't have used an example because I'm going to confuse myself, but essentially it's a lot more confusing than ESC, where if your course handicap was between 10 and 19, your maximum score is a 7. Now, depending on what, course you play, what tees you play, there's daily revisions. Your handicap index is going to update after posting a score. So hole by hole score is the preferred or recommended option because we're going to do all that math for you. You're going to enter in what score you actually got, and we're going to determine what that maximum score was.
So, if you're a woman posting, would the tee be the women's default tee versus, in this case, you have the black tee?
Yeah. So you'll see. So if we go back to that admin portal, the default for each home course, they had a default male tee and a default female tee. If I access the kiosk as a female member, the default tee would have been gold instead of black. So yes, the default tees are based or dependent on the gender of the golfer who's accessing the kiosk.
So in the case where you have golfers that typically don't play the default, they'll have to change it every time they post.
Yeah, but as an admin, if you have numerous golfers who don't, if you don't want to have a default tee, you also have the ability to just not determine a default tee and require the golfer to select tees. That's what we're going to be doing. If the golfer tries to post a score on gin.com or the Gin mobile app, they'll always have to select the tee. There's no player default tee. But at a kiosk level, you could set a default tee by gender for your home courses.
Currently there's no timeout in place. Somebody walks away from the kiosk.
So there's a 3-minute timeout. So if there's inactivity for 3 minutes, so someone got to the kiosk, posted a score, walked away, after 3 minutes, which we might come close to it soon, the kiosk you'll exit the kiosk as the access golfer and be taken back to that golfer home screen. Or sorry, the golfer access screen.
And then this will be our final question, but then we'll move on. Can you set the default tees for each individual golfer at this point?
No, there's no player default tees. So we'll continue. So the only other features of the kiosk, so we have my handicap information. So if I click on this, I'm taken to a screen where I can see my course handicap for all the tees of the default home course. I can always change this to another home course or search for a course. So here I'm seeing the tees, the course rating, slope rating, and the par, and then my course handicap. I have the ability to look it up for 18 holes as well as 9 holes. I can also view scores, and so this is going to show me that same scores table that I got after posting a score. So it's going to show me recent and revision scores. And I'll go back home. The last feature is golfer lookup. So you have the ability to look up a golfer by name, and you can do that within your club, within a U.S. state or territory, and it defaults to the state in which the club is located in. So Test Club is located within New Jersey, or you can search outside the U.S. and select the country. You can search, if you just look up by GIN number, it's going to search across everybody and everything. So you have the ability to just look up by GIN number and find a golfer. And when you find a golfer, it will display the same information that displayed when you viewed your handicap information. This is where you get that golfer's course handicap for the various tees, both 18 holes and 9, and where you can see that golfer's revision and recent scores, as well as handicap index and low HI. I think Joe is also a member of Test Club, so I could search for him by name there. If I want to search for a golfer by state, actually I'll search for my parents. You'll see here, since there's multiple results, you select which golfer. So I just searched by last name. When there was 2 matches, if I did it by last name and just put in something for first name. So if I just put in initial, so if I did, I'm taking directly to Liz Capasso. And then, yeah, so it's defaulting to the state the club's located in, but you'll be able to search for any state and find any golfer. So those were kind of all the features within the kiosk itself. Hopefully it's pretty straightforward and intuitive for the golfer. I know the flow is slightly different from what has existed with the current kiosk, but yeah, we're kind of hoping that this will be a good user experience and also kind of eliminate any, a golfer can just access the kiosk by last name, go to post total score, round setup information is kind of already populated, enter total score, hit post score, and then hit exit kiosk and be out, within 30 seconds and let the next person in their foursome come behind them and post the score. So are there any questions, any more questions before we go back to the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, there was one that came in around defaulting the kiosk to be able to post only hole by hole.
Yeah, again, we might have the ability, or we're going to get to the ability maybe of adding some additional customization to kiosk settings. We're going to have to, I'm going to say this, that I want to see kind of data before we start allowing either, or allowing things like that to happen, because we're going to have access to a lot of data once we launched, in order to see how many people are actually posting total scores versus hole by hole scores. And so, my concern would be if you see that 95% of people are posting total scores, well, we don't want to take the rug from underneath them and force them to post hole by hole. No, it's a WHS recommendation. I know it's better from a golfer standpoint, but not every golfer is going to have their scorecard or remember their scores for each hole when posting. So we'll have to discuss that, and that'll be we'll have to discuss that kind of at the GIN level, and then with the associations, and obviously get feedback from you guys and your golfers.
Another question came in, and Charlie, it's on that final page where you have all your scores listed. What's the difference between recent and revision?
Yeah, so recent scores, because if you know the terms now, so recent scores will be any scores posted essentially today. Since there's daily revisions in WHS, the recent score would just show the scores that I just posted today. So in most cases, not most cases, but if you're looking up a golfer, they're always going to have the revision scores. They might not have any recent scores, but the recent scores are the ones. That's why they're kind of italicized, to show that they're pending. We're not displaying trend, as trend has gone away with the World Handicap system. So the handicap index is based on the revision scores, but these recent scores are displaying, knowing that they haven't been used to apply to the handicap index. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. All right. So if there's no additional questions, you can jump back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so launch preparations. Before we show launch preparations, just want to give everyone an update that I know that there's been sessions on launch prep and planning and things like that. So for the kiosk setup, you see that you have the ability to go in there as a club admin and add a kiosk or edit a kiosk setting. But for launch, especially with the year-round associations like a Florida or a Southern Cal, we're going to generate kiosk URLs for every active club that has a defined home course, meaning that if your association wants us to do that, you might go into the admin portal when you have access day one on January 6th and see, hey, there's already a kiosk set up, and your association would have supplied you with a URL, so you're ready to go day one. That you don't need to worry about, I gotta get to the course at 6 a.m. and the first thing I need to do is go in the admin portal and set up a kiosk. Is that we're going to set up kiosks for all the clubs, give that list and information to your association, and then your association can provide you that, so you have the URL ready to go for January 6th. You have the ability to delete that kiosk that's set up. You have the ability to, the only kind of tricky thing is, if you have a club that has multiple home courses, we're just going to select the first one, but you could just go into and edit the kiosk settings and change the default course. And you also have the ability to add your own kiosk if you wanted to change the club display name. If you want to create another kiosk for a different course, you still have all the ability, but hopefully we're taking some of the kind of effort or work that would have been done right away on January 6th out of your hands and also out of the association's hands, and we can at least give you guys all these pre-configured URLs, and then you can kind of have that for day one.
So a couple questions just on the URL setup. Club in Florida, will they get their URL from Florida, or will they create their own?
Yeah, so with Florida, I mean, with all the associations, we're going to kind of bulk generate all these URLs, give them to your association. So if you're Florida, we're going to give Florida State Golf Association a list of all clubs, all kiosk URLs, and then it's up to Florida to then give it to you, and I'm sure they will. But you won't be getting the URL from USGA or GIN. You'll be getting it from your association, and your association will have that most likely around the January 3rd timeframe. So you'll have that before we go live on the 6th.
How does this affect clubs without real estate or type 2, type 3 clubs?
So as long as there's a defined home course within GHP now and the club's active, we'll create a kiosk URL. And as a type 2 or type 3 club, if you have access to the admin portal, you have access to create a kiosk URL, so you can do that.
That's pretty much it for now.
Yeah. Okay. And so launch preparation. So what you can start doing before launch is just, especially if you're in a non-year-round association. So if you're in the Northeast where we have snow out here in New Jersey, maybe just begin to kind of unwind the kiosk from club computers. Meaning, if you have it in the startup menu or you have a desktop icon for it, or you have in your bookmarks bar or your favorites bar, you can just remove that. That URL, we're not redirecting when we launch. You're going to have a specific URL for that specific kiosk. So just start removing it from any of your computers and ways to clean it off. During cutover, that's kind of that time frame in from January 1st to January 6th where associations and the USGA has access to the admin portal and where we're kind of setting up these kiosks and setting up everything else. Just coordinate with their association to get the new kiosk URL. Again, with the Florida example, it'll be up to the associations to deliver these URLs. And in speaking to a lot of your associations, this is something that they ask for because they want this to provide to you guys in advance. So they will I can't speak for them, but I know that this was a big thing that they wanted. So I'm sure that they will provide you with the URL as soon as they get it. And then same thing during cutover. At that point, even if you are a year-round association, just start removing any of the old kiosk links from club computers. So, because that link won't redirect to the new so just make sure that removed. And then once we launch, ensure all those old kiosk links have been removed and replaced from your club computers. And then once you have that new URL, you can create a desktop icon, add a link to the startup menu, add it to your favorites, whatever you do to make it easily accessible to you, either you when you get in each morning, or to your golfers. But that URL will not change. You don't need to log in to access that URL. So as long as you have it, as your default web page or whatever, and it's not going to ever log you out. Or obviously, if you delete the URL, it won't within the admin portal. It won't be accessible anymore. But yeah, there's nothing you have to do with that URL once you have loaded it onto your computer. Okay, so questions and wrap up. Is there anything else, any other questions about kiosk setup, the kiosk features, anything with launch before we wrap up the meeting? We'll give it a minute or two, maybe a minute. This would be a good time to test the kiosk inactivity show. give it 3 minutes.
So this is, I guess, around the cutover. Will the old system completely stop working on the 6th?
So it'll completely stop working on the 1st. On the 1st, the old system will display a kind of maintenance page that's explaining what's going on. But on the 6th, yeah, we'll probably update the text on the 6th to say this is no longer working. Please contact your association. But the URLs and the for the existing kiosk will no longer work starting the 1st.
What about people who access the kiosk from home? I'm not really sure why you access it from home, but
yeah, I mean, regardless of where you access the kiosk from, the URL is not going to work. So you'll need to use these new URLs to access a kiosk for your club.
So you
need to create a URL.
Create a new URL called home.
Yes, for your club if you wanted to do so.
Yep. So just a confirmation, members will not be able to post scores from the 1st of January to the 5th.
Yes, and no one will be able to post scores anywhere from the 1st to the 5th. So you're not going to be able to post scores in GHP, as that's going to be down as the admin portal launches on the 6th. The mobile app will be down. Gin.com will be down. Essentially, the whole system is going to be down from the 1st to the 6th.
It won't be accessible.
It will not. You will be unable to access it.
The Gin app.
Yes.
Will there be an automatic update, or will we have to download it new?
So the new mobile app will be an update to the existing mobile app, so the golfer won't have to go into the App Store and search for it and download a new or install a new version. Obviously, depending on what settings they have on their phone, some apps auto update based on their phone settings, but otherwise it'll just be an app update. So they might have to go to the App Store, hit the update button, but they won't need to search and install a brand new app. It'll just be an update of the existing Gin mobile app.
So here's a question from Maine. After you set up the kiosk, can you post scores year-round?
So you could set up the kiosk in Maine and post scores year-round for courses who are in an active score posting season, and that's determined by the association. So if you set up a kiosk in Maine and someone tried to post a score for a course in Maine in February, it's going to say unacceptable, date played out of season. But if that person changed the course to a course in Florida and tried to post a score in the kiosk, the score will go through because that's a acceptable score as Florida is in the active season.
Good questions. So the question is, what about the existing data in GHP? Will it still be available after the 6th?
So GHP is being replaced with the admin portal. So all the data that's in GHP will be migrated to the admin portal, in which you'll have access starting January 6th.
Yeah, if there are some reports that you want to run out of your GHP system, you may want to run them end of year before the system goes down, so that you have maybe a copy of your favorite report. But you'll be able to replicate all of that reporting functionality in the admin portal come the 6th of January. So what about documentation and reference material? Will it be detailed instruction manuals?
Yeah, well, I've written up some detailed kiosk setup documentation, and there's also some for the admin portal, kind of how you would add a golfer, how you would post a score, kind of doing all the functionality. And I'm going to connect with kind of our change management team. That's available in this Launch 2020 portal, which I think is accessible by the associations. which they have access to, and I think they have the ability to distribute it out. Once you have access to the new admin portal, I believe there's a tools and resources area, which is going to have kind of white pages, all this documentation of how to do all these things within the new admin portal on the 6th. So yeah, there's definitely written up documentation on how to set up a kiosk, how to add a home course, all this stuff. So yeah, this isn't the only time that you'll be seeing this, that we'll have documentation within the admin portal, but your associations will have documentation as well, and we'll be able to answer any questions.
So as far as the password to get into the various applications, do you need passwords to get into the kiosk?
So no password to get into the kiosk. You'll need a password and an account to get into the admin portal, which I believe all the associations are creating an admin for each club, and then that club admin will have the ability to add additional admins for the club. But you won't have access to the admin portal until January 6th.
Question came in, will tournament management also be down from January 1 to January 6th?
Let me ask the tournament management guy over here, Joe Cavallo.
No, the tournament software will not be down. However, certain functionality within USJTM will not be available, such as updating handicap indexes, posting scores. But the day-to-day runnings of the event, making pairings, running scorecards, entering scoring information for the actual tournament or event, that it will all be up and running and will have no downtime. Here's a question from a public facility. They deactivate their membership at the end of each year and then activate it as the golfers pay. Will they still be able to do this?
Yeah, you'll be able to activate and deactivate. I think it's active, inactive golfers within the admin portal.
Yeah, it's actually easier now.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll be a function available within the admin portal. And just for your awareness, that inactive golfers won't be able to access Kiosk or Gin.com or mobile app, and they won't appear in Golfer Lookup. So more incentives for them to to sign up and pay. If they want to post scores, they need to become active.
Okay.
All right.
Around fees, that's a discussion between you and your association, whether or not your club fees, golfer fees, will increase in 2020.
Yes.
So I think we just need to clarify what an inactive golfer is here. So the question is an inactive golfer due to an injury is different than an inactive golfer in the way that we explained it.
Yeah, an inactive golfer as defined in the admin portal as inactive. Not an inactive golfer as a golfer who's not playing.
Right.
So if you pay, you're active. Now, I mean, as a club, you have the ability to keep a golfer active if they didn't pay.
Sure.
So that's at your discretion, but defined inactive golfers in the admin portal will not be able to access GIN products.
Yeah, it's a status of a golfer.
Status.
Not necessarily a
state.
Yep.
Okay. I think they'll cover some of that stuff within the admin portal demos.
Yeah, if you get an opportunity, make sure you attend the admin portal and the reporting webinars as well. Inactive golfers will not be able to access the kiosk, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, what you do within the admin portal for your club membership is up to you. But if their status in the admin portal is defined as inactive, they will not be able to access the golfer products or be looked up within the golfer products. Okay.
All right.
No more questions. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any other questions or need additional information, I guess reach out to your association. They've gone through a lot of these demos and kind of know the ins and outs and everything. But I appreciate everyone joining, and hopefully the kiosk setup was intuitive, and then the kind of kiosk demo and features make you excited for launch, and hopefully the golfers will appreciate the new design.
Thank you.
Thank you.